Look his face.
Yeah.
He's dangerous.
He's special.
You can like.
The guy is special. Everything that could possibly be special about this guy is special. A guy like this is the type of guy that you love to watch and follow. The most special guy that I've ever come across.
Welcome to the Patrick McCorry Sports Show. Today we have 5-0 undefeated Bellator fighter Dalton Rosta. So, we'll start from the beginning of your career. What made you get into MMA?
I mean, I've always participated in sports that, kind of go into MMA, wrestling, boxing, jiu-jitsu from a really young age. And I grew up watching UFC and boxing, and it's always something I've been interested in. So.
Did you have a specific fighter you liked growing up?
Growing up, probably like Jon Jones, Chuck Liddell, Lyoto Machida, all of those guys.
Yeah, all great fighters. What would you say your normal weight is outside of fighting?
205 pounds.
So the weight cut's easy or tough?
It's pretty easy.
That's good. So your first pro walkout, I believe it was on Bellator 219 in 2019. What was that like?
I mean, it was fun. It was obviously my pro debut, and having it under a big promotion like Bellator, it seemed surreal. And I mean, obviously I went out there, I got the first round finish. It was pretty cool fight, and had a good time.
And was it like making the transition from being an amateur to Bellator, a big promotion like Bellator?
I mean, that's kind of a hard question to answer. I mean, the only difference to me really is the venues and obviously all the cameras and the lights and everything. But I mean, when you're inside a cage, you're doing this exact same thing. So I'd say that's the biggest difference, the production.
And so let's go to more recent times now. So your most recent fight against Tony Johnson. How do you feel about that fight?
I feel good about the fight. I mean, there's a lot of things I would go back and change. I would do differently watching the fight back, but I think I did well. I outboxed a 10-1 professional boxer.
Yeah.
My wrestling was good. I mixed everything up. I mean, I think I proved I didn't have to wrestle.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I did well, but obviously I would step on the gas a little bit more, go for the finish. But I think I was playing it safe.
Yeah.
Because he's a big puncher. He can knock me out as well as I can knock him out, So I think both of us weren't really taking much risk whenever it came to putting ourselves out there like that.
So would you say it was a bit more of a technical fight than just a all-out war?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to do some quick fire things, like quick questions that don't necessarily have to do with MMA. But some of them do, but some of them don't, because some of my viewers aren't the biggest fans of MMA and boxing. So just a wider range of Dalton Rosta. Okay, so what's your favorite sport outside of MMA to watch?
Geez, I don't know. I don't really watch much else.
You don't?
Probably football.
Like American football?
Yeah, American football.
Do you have a specific team you like? I know you're from Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
so.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay. Do you have a specific training snack you like while you're in training camp?
Training snack?
Yeah.
Are you talking about like whenever I'm like training myself, or are you just saying like snacking during the day?
Snack when you're in training camp.
Like how so? Like a sweet treat, or like
Or
just something
just in general, like whether it's a type of cereal bar or a candy bar of some sort.
Ice cream. For sure. Ice cream.
And are you not allowed to have that when you're training?
Yeah, I mean, I usually don't eat it whenever I have a fight coming up. Just usually do like one cheat meal a week during fight camp.
And what would your cheat meal look like?
Probably like a full, like 8 slice pizza, or a burger and fries plus
Yeah.
a milkshake or some ice cream or some cheesecake or something
Yeah.
like that.
Would that be your favorite meal that you can't have when you're training, or is there a different meal?
No, that's probably my favorite, either that or chicken parmesan.
Chicken
So-
parmesan. Nice. Do you have a specific movie that is your favorite?
We were just watching The Longest Yard a few minutes ago. It's
Yeah.
a really good movie.
That is.
I also like the movie 300 and Southpaw. I mean, there's a few other movies, but those are probably the ones that come off the top of my head.
So you would say you like action movies or sports
Yeah.
movies?
Yeah.
Do you have a TV show that you really like as well?
A few. I binge watched Lucifer. I've been binge watched The Flash, Supernatural.
Yeah.
The originals. All action shows.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Do you have when you're in a fight or like just leaving the arena or going in, do you have a funny interaction with a fan or a spectator?
No, I don't think I do, especially recently with COVID. So
Yeah.
there's no fans or anything, and even if there were, probably be limited interaction.
Yeah. And a lot of your fights have been during the COVID times. Your last 3 fights have all been in COVID. So is
Yes,
it
sir.
different? Is it different fighting in a packed arena than like do you feel different from when you're fighting in an arena to when it's no crowd?
Yeah, it's way different. The energy isn't there, It feels like more of a sparring match whenever you're fighting without fans. You hear the base of the cage moving under you. You hear the commentators. You hear whenever there's fans there, I don't hear my coaches. I don't hear the commentators. I don't hear anything. I usually get my input in between rounds. And whenever there's no fans, you could hear everybody, and it's closed off arena. There's really no fans. Everybody in there is either doing with production or it's Bellator staff. So it's eerie in there. It's real silent,
Have you found that distracting when you are fighting?
A little bit. Yeah. I don't like it.
Yeah. So I've seen some fighters say they like the no crowd because they can hear the sounds of their punches or even their coaches more. But you obviously prefer to just have a packed crowd and not hear anyone.
Yeah, I prefer to hear the crowd. That's where all the energy comes from. Even watching fights on TV, it just doesn't feel the same watching them when there's no crowd. It's silent. There's no reactions to the punches or dangerous situations, flashy moves, nothing. There's no reactions to anything. You don't hear the crowd going crazy, and it just takes a little bit away from the fight.
Yeah, that's why it's different for like when you watch the UFC. 1 week or one time they have a packed arena for a pay-per-view, and then the next time they have a completely empty UFC Apex. And it's so weird to go from watching crowds and seeing celebrities or just hearing it differently and then watching the no crowd and hearing the impact that these fighters hit at.
Yeah. It's like watching a football game. If you watch the football game on mute, it wouldn't be as entertaining.
Exactly. Yeah, you want that crowd noise.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the same way. And so, do you have an idea of when you want to return to the Bellator cage?
I'm dealing with a couple injuries right now, so I'm out for a little bit. But as soon as the injury heals over, I look to start getting into a training camp right away. So I don't know. I'm hoping maybe September at the latest.
September. Yeah. And would that opponent be Romero Cotton, or do you have your eyes on someone else?
He's radio silent. He hasn't said anything back to any of the call outs that I gave. So I doubt he'll be an opponent. If he is, I'm surprised. I'll be surprised, as will the rest of my team, but we'll see.
Yeah. Oh, what would you say out of all your wins amateur or professional, is your favorite of the wins you've had?
I don't know, I'd probably say my pro debut, just because it was my first time competing professionally in anything. I was fighting for Bellator, and like all my hard work finally was starting to pay off. So
Yeah.
I would say my pro debut.
Yeah, your first 3 fights, all finishes. The first one ending within about 1 minute and 10 seconds after a knee injury. And then you had a ground and pound finish as well. And you had a doctor stoppage. Is that weird, having a doctor stoppage, like you're preparing to go into the next round and all of a sudden it's called off?
Yeah, I mean, I was doing a lot of damage. I think there was multiple points in that fight where the ref could have stopped it, and I mean, my opponent was in a bad way, obviously. I mean, you can see his face, you can see all the cuts, all the blood, all the bruising, everything else. So I mean, I don't blame the doctor for stopping it, but yeah, for when I looked at him after I got off him in the end of the first round, I was like, I thought it was going to be stopped right away, and then we went back to our corner and we went through the whole entire break. We were stood up about to go back out. So I was like, all right, this is happening. They're not stopping it. And I got my hopes up a little bit there. And then whenever they stopped it, I was like, all right, well, that was like a little, bit of a buzzkill, because I thought it was going to be stopped. And you dragged us all the way through the break. And then you stopped at the very end. So.
And now in your recent 2 fights against Guerrero and Johnson, you've shown your cardio and how good your cardio is. You're able to keep up a high pace on the ground and on the feet throughout 3 rounds. Is that something you always wanted to show but just couldn't because the fights ended early?
No, I don't really care for that. I want to finish all the fights, but the last 2 opponents, they're pretty dangerous. Tony Johnson has a lot of power in his punches. Ty Gorder has a lot of power too. He's explosive, threw a lot of dangerous things, like a lot of head kicks. I've seen him stop a few people with body kicks. And I mean, on top of that, he throws the flying knees, and I mean, he has a lot of power in his backhand, which would be his left hand because he's southpaw. But I mean, there's a lot of the time when you get 2 fighters like that, you see it at heavyweight all the time. You get 2 big punchers and everybody's like, oh, this is going to be a hell of a fight. Two big punchers is definitely going to end in a knockout. They knock everybody out. But then you get 2 people like Francis Ngannou and Derek Lewis, who are the biggest punchers in the whole entire sport and in the whole entire world. And it's, a stalemate. They stand around and do nothing. Now, of course, obviously Gorder and me and Tony Johnson did a lot more than that. There was a lot more action than those 2, but that's just a prime example of what happens whenever you have 2 big punchers. Nobody wants to take that risk. Nobody wants to get knocked out in front of the entire world on international television. So so I mean, a lot of time you get that, but I mean, ideally I always want to get the finish.
And do you think so they're trying to book the second fight between Lewis and Ngannou. Do you think it's going to be the same, or do you think they want to prove all the doubters wrong about this fight and just get a knockout?
See, you could put the same 2 people in a fight twice, and the second fight's never going to be the same as the first, even if they go in with the same game plan. Obviously, I mean, on the first night, they've been in there with each other. They felt each other's power. Obviously, they both know they have each other's power, but I think next time they're probably going to take more risks. Yeah.
And who do you think would win that fight then?
I think Ngannou. Ngannou is a lot faster. They both have, I mean, Ngannou is probably a more powerful puncher too, but I mean, either of them, if they hit one clean shot, it doesn't matter who has more power. It's like if you get hit with a fucking Toyota Corolla at 35 miles per hour and you get hit with a Chevy Silverado at 35 miles per hour, both cars are probably going to kill you. You know what I mean? But which one's going to hurt worse? Probably the bigger car, but both of them do the damage.
Yeah. If Derek Lewis were to win, do you think it would be like his typical beating up in the first round or 2 and then sudden just drops the fighter, kind of like Volkov or Olenek?
Yeah, because he doesn't have the gas tank to compete at that high pace. And he doesn't take a lot of risk. He waits for the shot to open itself.
Yeah.
So when the other person starts coming to him, they start getting comfortable. That's whenever those things happen. So I think it'll be the same performance on his end. I think Francis Ngannou will come out a little bit more hot.
Yeah. And like Francis Ngannou would get in his face rather than
Francis
waiting
Ngannou is
for
more athletic. He's faster, more powerful puncher. Not much more powerful, but he still is. And he throws wild punches. He's not scared to, throw the looping punches, the ripping the uppercuts. And I think he'll get some knockout.
Yeah. Do you think it would be an early knockout, or do you think it would be like a late round finish?
I think it's first or second round.
First or second round. So kind of like Stipe or Overeem.
Yeah.
Nice. So you want to fight in September, and you have your eyes on Romero Cotton. You don't think he'll agree. Is there anyone outside of him that you would see being an opponent for you?
I don't know. Really, I haven't really thought about it, but there's plenty of people in the top 10. I know I can beat everybody in the top 10. So
yeah.
It doesn't really matter who they give me. I mean, if Romero Cotton doesn't come to fruition, then I'll focus on another person. But we gotta, sort that out first.
Yeah. And do you think you deserve a top 10 opponent now?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And how far roughly do you think, like fight wise, let's say 3 to 5 wins, how far are you from a title shot, do you think? Looking at what do you think the future will be of the middleweight Bellator division?
If I knock out my next 3 opponents, I have 3 more fights on this contract. If I knock out my next 3 opponents, especially if they're in the top 10, let's say Romero Cotton, he's ranked 7th, I knock him out, that puts me at least 7. Then they'll probably give me like a 5 or a 4. Then knock him out. Then they'll put me at like probably 3 or 4. Then they'll probably give me the number 1 or number 2, knock him out. Then, that's how it goes. So
yeah,
I think knock out all 3 of my next opponents and I could possibly get a title shot, but I don't want to fight for the title yet. I don't want to be trapped inside of a promotion. I want to have the freedom to make choices to leave or stay, depending on how I'm being treated, depending on how I'm being compensated, everything else. So, fighting for a title isn't something I'd want to do unless I know I want to stay with Bellator.
Yeah. So you don't want to be trapped in Bellator, kind of like Michael Chandler was for a while.
Yeah, if I don't want to be, if I decide to fight for the title, it's going to be a decision I make based on where I see myself in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. Do you see yourself in the UFC or in another promotion at all, or do you think you'll try and stay with Bellator as long as you can?
No, I think I could compete in any promotion right now. I mean, you look at the top 10 of the 185 in UFC. I mean, besides Paulo Costa, Whitaker, and Adesanya, and then, few outliers like, Brunson or Connier. There's really nobody in the division. It's not a stacked top 10. So top 15.
5 is stacked, or not stacked, but they're all very, very good opponents. But it seems like Adesanya has kind of beaten them all. That's how.
And he's not very hard to beat. They just fight him the wrong way. I don't know if it's their pride, their ego, or them just throwing their game plan out as soon as they get in the cage, or him getting in their head, whatever it is. But they're not fighting him the right way.
It seems like Blachowicz felt no pressure going into the fight with him.
Yeah, and that was slow. That was a slow fight. It was a slow fight, and Blachowicz didn't do anything fancy or anything, but I think he exposed Israel Adesanya for what he is, better than average fighter, but not great. He's not no Anderson Silva. He's not Jon Jones. He's not a Khabib Nurmagomedov. He's not a Conor McGregor. He's nothing. Like, he tries to be, he tries to talk shit and like say all this cool shit, but it's really just cringy. And his performances are always lackluster.
Yeah.
So he doesn't get finishes. And I can't talk for my last 2 performances. I didn't finish either person, but at least I'm going out there and trying to make it happen, where he just he'll sit back and just sit on cruise control. He doesn't care, but then he'll go and talk shit after his fight saying he's the most exciting fighter. He's the best fighter on the planet. He's the best kickboxer. And then he'll say shit like he was against Vettori, where he said, I did the Matrix on you. It's like, what? You sat on your back leg and jabbed him all fight long.
Yeah. that Vittori fight, it seemed like I knew that fight was going to be like that too. I didn't expect Adesanya to like do what he did to Paulo Costa.
Yeah, but that's because Paulo Costa, took a risk. That's the only time. Israel Adesanya's a counter striker, but if his opponents do nothing, he'll do nothing. He lets his opponent set the pace, and he fights at their pace. That's something you can't do. If you want to be great in this sport, you have to go out there and dictate the pace, and you have to, force your will on somebody.
So if you were to look at the UFC middleweight division, is there anyone in that division you think you could give a real challenge to?
All of them.
All of them? You think
Yeah,
it would
everybody.
be a hard fight for all of them?
Yeah.
I was wondering, so people have classed you as a wrestler, right? But you don't have any wins with submissions. You have wins with ground and pound, but you don't have any wins with submission. Is that something you would like to explore?
I mean, honestly, man, I just go in there and whatever my opponent gives me, I take. So if the submission's there, yeah, I'll take it, but it's not what I'm looking for. If I have an opportunity to finish them via strikes or a knockout, I'll do that instead. But I mean, if I'm in a tough fight and the submission shows itself, yeah, I'm going to take it. Yeah. But realistically, I want to go in there and get the knockout or the ground and pound finish, TKO, whatever. But, that's what the fans want to see. They want to see the big slams. If you are going to wrestle, they want to see the big slams. They don't see you sit there and hug somebody and hump them all match long. They want to see the big slams if you're going to wrestle. They want to see finishes and activity on the ground if you're going to take it to the ground. They want to see big punches, damages on the ground, everything like that. And then they want to see, knockouts if you're staying on the feet or at least going for it, a back and forth trading fight or somebody completely asserting themselves, like picking the other opponent apart, making it a masterclass clinic. Those are the things people want to see.
Yeah. And do you think some wrestlers like Marvin Vittori, like against Kevin Holland, he just kind of sat on him all fight. He didn't really do a huge amount
he's not really a wrestler. He's a grappler. There's a difference between being a wrestler and a grappler. A grappler will just hug you all match long. Yeah. Not do anything. A wrestler is going to use his ground and pound. It's going to use his top pressure to create openings for submissions or knockouts or whatever, or use his wrestling to open up strikes on his feet.
Tire the opponent out.
Yeah, Vittori's not a wrestler; he's a grappler.
Yeah. Now, last question. So there was the UFC yesterday. Last night for me, it was in the middle of the day for you. Was there a specific fight that stood out to you?
Trying to think. I mean, the Moicano fight. He's one of my teammates, and I mean, on the ground, and that's a prime example. I mean, he's a jiu-jitsu guy, but he doesn't just sit there and hug you. He makes things happen. He's relentlessly passing his guard, getting the full mount. Trying to open up some strikes, trying to open up some submissions, transitioning from the mount to the back from half guard to mount, taking them down. That's. A lot of people think they look at that and they're like, oh, just stand up. I've been on the bottom with Moicano, and he's a smaller fighter than me, and it's hard to get him off of you. He has really good pressure, good hips. And when you do get him out of mount, back to half guard, he's passing right again. If you get him to open guard, he's passing back to half guard, and then from half guard to full mount. I mean, it's hard to keep him off you. You have to use every ounce of energy to get him off you can, but then he's right back in your face. So, yeah, I mean, he had a beautiful performance, and I mean, I was looking forward to main event, but what really didn't happen. It's like all this talking about where people don't take a lot of risks because they both have power, but I think Cyril Gane, I don't think he has as much as power as people think he does. He was landing some good shots, and they were getting through, and they were clean, and they weren't knocking Volkov out. But you see Derek Lewis hit Volkov with not even a clean shot at. He skimmed him with an overhand right and knocks him clean out. That's true power.
Yeah. Do you think Gane could be a problem Gane could be a problem in the UFC title picture for the heavyweights?
No, I think he's technical, and I think he's technically better than a lot of the guys. You know, he's quick. He's very quick for his weight class and for his size. Good grappler, you know, undefeated, on the younger side for heavyweights. He has all the talent in the world and the capabilities to do it, but he doesn't have the power. So when he gets in there with somebody like Ngannou and gets hit like a truck, you know, I just don't see it going over well for him. And if he gets in there with Stipe's going to pick him apart because he doesn't have the power to knock Stipe out. Stipe's a better striker, he's a better boxer, better wrestler too. So I think the two people at the top of the division, he beats everybody else, but you know, I think he'll beat Derek Lewis because he's fast enough to stay away from his power. And Derek Lewis, we know he's a slow starter, so I think he'll beat Derek Lewis. He beat Volkov. He beat Rosenstrike. I mean, he beats he beats everybody in that division except for the top two. And that's because of his skill, not because of his power, but his lack of power is what's going to hold him from beating them, because they're not going to really be afraid of getting hit by him. So they're going to take chances.
Yeah. And there's rumors circulating of Gon versus Jon Jones. Do you think if
Jon Jones?
Jon Jones.
Yeah.
Do you think it would be technical, or do you think Jones would finish him?
No, I think Jon Jones beats him by decision, but he's more technical than Cyril Gahn. He's been doing it for a lot longer time. I mean, he's finished legends. When he was coming up, he was finishing everybody. He was knocking out legends. He was submitting legends, Leo Machida, Evans, everybody. He ran through the entire division. But now, as he's getting older, he's kind of slowing his pace down, you know, and kind of coasting the win. So I think that's what he would do against Gahn.
Yeah. So you'd back Jones winning that fight?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it. I'm out of questions. Do you have anything you want to say to the YouTube viewers?
No, I mean, thank you for the interview, and have a great day, man.